The evening air held a hint of autumn as Sophia moved through the grand concert hall's empty corridors. The rest of the cleaning staff had already gone home, but her mother had taken on extra hours, which meant Sophia stayed too. At 16, she had learned that complaining didn't help their situation. Instead, she found small joys in these quiet moments after everyone else had left. Tonight, the marble floors reflected the dim security lights as she pushed her cart from room to room. The wheels squeaked slightly, a sound that used to embarrass her but now felt like a familiar companion in the silence. Sophia checked her watch. 10:30 p.m. She still had the main hall to clean before they could catch the last bus home. "You finished the practice rooms?" her mother called from down the corridor. Lucia Reyes had been cleaning at the Westfield Concert Hall for nearly 8 years now. Her hands, once soft and meant for creating beautiful things, had grown calloused from years of scrubbing and polishing. "Almost done," Sophia answered, pushing a strand of dark hair back under her cap. "Just one more to go." Sophia paused outside the last practice room, hearing faint music from inside. She peered through the small window in the door. A young man sat hunched over the piano, playing the same difficult passage over and over, his frustration evident in the set of his shoulders. Sophia recognized him as one of the newer orchestra members, the one the conductor was always criticizing. She waited until he slammed the cover down over the keys and left through another door before entering to clean. The sheet music left on the piano caught her eye, Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 3. Sophia had heard the piece during rehearsals and secretly thought the conductor's interpretation missed something essential about the music. The practice room smelled of lemon polish and anxiety. Sophia emptied the small trash can and wiped down the surfaces, taking extra care with the piano. Her fingers hovered over the keys, not quite touching. Playing wasn't allowed, especially not for the cleaning staff. "Sophia," her mother's voice startled her, and she jumped back from the piano. "We need to finish the main hall before midnight." "Coming," Sophia called, taking one last look at the sheet music before following her mother. The main concert hall was enormous and eerily beautiful at night. 3,000 red velvet seats faced the stage where, tomorrow night, the orchestra would perform for the season's first sold-out show. Sophia worked on automatic pilot, emptying trash bins while her mind wandered to the music she'd heard during afternoon rehearsals. "You're humming again," her mother said, a small smile softening her tired face. "The same tune as yesterday." Sophia hadn't realized she was humming the Rachmaninoff piece. "Sorry, don't be sorry, it's nice to hear music in your voice." Her mother's eyes grew distant. "Your grandmother used to say you were born with music in your blood." Sophia had heard the story many times, how her grandmother had played piano for small theaters in their home country before war and hardship forced the family to flee. The piano they'd once owned had been left behind, becoming just another family legend. "I wish I could have met her," Sophia said. "She would have loved you." Her mother checked her watch. "The night supervisor will be making his rounds soon. Let's finish up." They worked in comfortable silence, the kind that exists between people who know each other's rhythms. Sophia cleaned the conductor's podium while her mother handled the musicians' chairs and stands. From this spot, Sophia could see the magnificent grand piano waiting center stage, a Steinway concert grand that cost more than their entire apartment building. "Beautiful, isn't it?" A voice broke the silence, making both women jump. Mr. Chen, the night supervisor, stood at the edge of the stage. Unlike the daytime managers who barely acknowledged the cleaning staff, Mr. Chen always treated them with kindness. He was an older man with gray-streaked hair and hands that suggested he'd done his share of physical work before becoming a supervisor. "Yes, it is," Sophia agreed, looking at the piano with longing she couldn't hide. "Do you play?" Mr. Chen asked. Sophia shook her head quickly. "No, sir." Her mother gave her a curious look but said nothing. "Well, we're all finished here," her mother said, gathering their supplies. "We'll just put these away and clock out." Mr. Chen nodded. "Drive safely, Mrs. Reyes. Weather report says rain is coming." "We take the bus," Sophia said before she could stop herself. "Sophia," her mother whispered in warning. "No, it's all right," Mr. Chen said. The last bus runs at midnight, right? Better hurry then. They thanked him and rushed to put away their cleaning supplies. As they walked to the bus stop, fat raindrops began to fall, quickly becoming a downpour. By the time the bus arrived, they were both soaked. The apartment was dark and cold when they finally got home. Their neighborhood wasn't dangerous exactly, but Sophia's mother still double-locked the door behind them. The place was small, just 2 rooms plus a bathroom, but they kept it spotlessly clean, a professional habit that followed them home. "You should sleep," her mother said, hanging their wet coats in the bathroom to dry. "You have school tomorrow." Sophia nodded, though she knew sleep wouldn't come easily. Her mind was still filled with music, her fingers itching to play notes. She'd never been taught but somehow understood. Instead, she sat at their small kitchen table and opened her math textbook. "What's this?" her mother asked, picking up a folded piece of paper that had fallen from Sophia's pocket. Sophia felt her cheeks grow hot. It was the first page of the Rachmaninoff piece, which she'd impulsively taken from the practice room. I wanted to look at it." Her mother unfolded the sheet music, her expression unreadable. For a moment, Sophia thought she might be angry. "Your grandmother could read music like this," she said finally. "She tried to teach me, but I never had the patience." She carefully refolded the paper and handed it back to Sophia. "Just be careful. If they catch you taking things—" "I know. I'm sorry." Sophia tucked the music into her textbook. "I'll put it back tomorrow." Her mother touched her cheek gently. "Get some sleep now, my girl." Later, in the darkness of their shared room, Sophia listened to her mother's even breathing. Sleep eluded her as the rain tapped against the window, and Rachmaninoff's notes played in her head. She traced patterns on her thin blanket, fingers moving, as if over piano keys. The next day at school dragged endlessly. Sophia moved through her classes like a ghost, present but not really there. Her English teacher, Mrs. Rivera, asked her twice if she was feeling well. "Just tired," Sophia answered, which wasn't exactly a lie. The truth was more complicated. Sophia was tired, yes, but also filled with a strange, buzzing energy she couldn't explain. The stolen sheet of music burned in her backpack like a forbidden treasure. During lunch, she found an empty classroom and spread the music on a desk. The notes meant little to her on their own. She'd never had formal training, but when she closed her eyes, she could hear how they should sound, could feel the movement in her hands. "What are you doing in here?" Sophia jumped, quickly gathering the music. Her friend Tina stood in the doorway, lunch tray in hand. "Nothing," Sophia said too quickly. "Just studying." Tina raised an eyebrow but didn't push. "Well, come eat something. You look half-starved." That evening, Sophia and her mother returned to the concert hall. A rehearsal was running late, so they started in the back offices instead. Sophia could hear the orchestra through the walls working on the very piece she'd been obsessing over. The conductor's voice rose occasionally, cutting through the music with criticism. "No, no, no. This passage needs more feeling. It's not just notes on a page." When the musicians finally packed up and left, Sophia and her mother moved into the main hall. The air still vibrated with lingering notes and frustration. Sheet music lay scattered across the stage, abandoned in haste. "I'll clean the stage," Sophia offered, already moving toward the piano. Her mother gave her a knowing look but nodded. "I'll start with the seating area." Alone on stage, Sophia carefully gathered the sheet music, organizing it into neat piles. The piano stood open, its keys exposed and inviting. Sophia glanced around. Her mother was busy vacuuming between rows, and the night supervisor hadn't made his rounds yet. Heart pounding, she slid onto the bench and hovered her fingers over the keys without touching them. She'd seen pianists warm up this way, imagining the music before playing it. Sophia closed her eyes and let her hands move silently through the air, following the melody line she'd memorized from the rehearsals. "You should try actually pressing the keys. Works better that way." Sophia's eyes flew open. Mr. Chen stood a few feet away, watching her with an unreadable expression. She jumped up from the bench, nearly knocking it over. "I'm sorry. I didn't." "Relax," Mr. Chen said, raising a hand. "I'm not going to report you." Sophia's heart still raced. If she lost this job for her mother? Have you played before? Mr. Chen asked, his voice gentler. Sophia shook her head. No, we can't afford. She stopped, embarrassed. Mr. Chen studied her for a moment. But you want to. It wasn't a question. But Sophia answered anyway. More than anything. From across the hall, Sophia could see her mother watching them, worry creasing her forehead. She'd stopped the vacuum cleaner and stood frozen between rows of seats. The hall opens at 8 a.m. for rehearsals, Mr. Chen said quietly. But I get here at 6 to do my checks. He paused, letting the implication hang in the air. No one else arrives before 7:30. Sophia stared at him, not daring to hope she understood correctly. I need to check the pianos every morning anyway, he continued casually, to make sure they're in tune. With that, he walked away, leaving Sophia standing by the piano, her fingers tingling with possibility. That night, for the first time in months, Sophia fell asleep easily, dreaming of music and mornings filled with endless possibility. Sophia's alarm buzzed at 4:30 a.m., pulling her from a dream filled with music. She reached to silence it before it woke her mother, who wouldn't start her shift until afternoon. For a moment, Sophia lay in the darkness, wondering if she was making a mistake. What if Mr. Chen had been setting a trap? What if she got caught and lost her mother's job? But the thought of those gleaming keys waiting in the empty concert hall pushed away her doubts. She dressed quickly in the bathroom, splashing cold water on her face to chase away sleep. A note on the refrigerator reminded her to take the lunch her mother had prepared. Sophia added her own note. Gone to study at the library before school. See you tonight. It wasn't exactly a lie. She would stop at the library, just not until later. Outside, the world was still dark and quiet. Sophia pulled her jacket tighter against the morning chill as she walked briskly to the bus stop. The first bus of the day was nearly empty. Just her and a few early shift workers dozing against windows. Sophia pressed her forehead against the cool glass, watching the city slowly come to life as they passed through sleeping neighborhoods. By the time she reached the concert hall, faint pink light was breaking across the sky. Sophia hesitated at the stage door, her hand hovering over the handle. What if her keycard didn't work this early? What if security stopped her? She took a deep breath and swiped her card. The light blinked green, and the door unlocked with a soft click. The hallways were dim, emergency lights casting long shadows. Sophia moved quietly, knowing the building's layout by heart after months of cleaning every corner. The main hall was dark except for a single light shining on the stage, and the magnificent piano waiting at its center. You came. Sophia jumped, her heart racing. Mr. Chen stepped from the shadows, a ring of keys in his hand. I wasn't sure you would, he continued, walking toward the stage. Sophia stayed rooted to her spot. I can leave if... No, Mr. Chen said, shaking his head. I meant what I said yesterday. He gestured toward the piano. 1 hour. That's all I can give you without raising questions. Sophia climbed the steps to the stage, her legs feeling strangely weak. Up close, the piano was even more beautiful. Gleaming black wood and perfectly polished keys that reflected the single spotlight. I've never actually played before, she admitted, suddenly embarrassed. What had she been thinking? She couldn't just sit down at a professional piano and magically know how to play. Mr. Chen smiled slightly. But you've been watching. It was true. For months, Sophia had watched the orchestra's pianists during rehearsals, memorizing their finger positions, the way they moved their hands, how they used the pedals. Sit, Mr. Chen said gently. Try. Sophia lowered herself onto the bench, adjusting her position as she'd seen the professionals do. The keys felt cool under her fingertips as she placed her hands in position. For a moment she sat frozen, overwhelmed by doubt. Then she pressed down and a clear note rang through the empty hall. The sound awakened something in her. Sophia closed her eyes and let her fingers find the notes of a simple melody she'd heard during rehearsals. Just a practice piece, but beautiful in its simplicity. She made mistakes, her untrained fingers sometimes landing on wrong keys, but the music was recognizable. When she finished, she looked up to find Mr. Chen watching her with an unreadable expression. "You've never had lessons?" he asked. Sophia shook her head. "We can't afford them." Mr. Chen was quiet for a long moment. "My mother was a piano teacher," he said finally, "before we came to this country. I grew up with music." He pulled a worn book from his bag and handed it to her. "Basic exercises, start with these." Sophia took the book with trembling hands. "Thank you." 45 minutes left, Mr. Chen said, checking his watch. "I'll be in my office. Lock up when you're done and leave through the side door." He paused. "Same time tomorrow?" Sophia nodded, already opening the book to its first page. For the next hour, Sophia lost herself in the most basic of exercises, finger positions, simple scales, learning the relationship between the written notes and the keys. When Mr. Chen returned to tell her time was up, she was shocked by how quickly it had passed. "Progress takes time," he said, noticing her frustration with her clumsy fingers. "But you have something many trained pianists don't." "What's that?" Sophia asked, carefully closing the piano cover. "You listen," he said simply. "Not just with your ears, but with something deeper." That day at school, Sophia could hardly focus. Her fingers tapped rhythms on her desk, practicing patterns from memory. During lunch, her friend Tina caught her, staring into space. "Earth to Sophia," Tina said, waving a hand in front of her face. "You're acting weird lately." "Just tired," Sophia answered with the same excuse she'd been using all week. Tina didn't look convinced. "You know you can talk to me, right? About anything." Sophia nodded, feeling a twinge of guilt for keeping secrets from her oldest friend. But how could she explain what was happening? She barely understood it herself. The next morning, Sophia arrived at the concert hall at the same time. Mr. Chen was waiting, this time with a small digital recorder. "I thought you might want to hear yourself play," he explained. "Sometimes our ears deceive us when we're playing. Recording helps." For the next week, Sophia fell into a new routine. Early mornings at the piano, school during the day, then evenings cleaning the hall with her mother. She was exhausted but happier than she could remember being. Mr. Chen was a patient teacher, correcting her technique gently, pushing her to try more challenging pieces. "Your hands are good," he told her one morning. "Long fingers. Good reach." Sophia looked down at her hands, the same hands that scrubbed floors and emptied trash cans each night. For the first time, she saw them as something more. One evening, while cleaning the practice rooms, Sophia overheard two musicians talking about the upcoming gala. "The governor confirmed he's attending," one said, "and half the arts board from the capital." "Great. More pressure," the other replied. "Have you heard Yao's been practicing that Rachmaninoff piece for 6 hours a day? He's determined to nail it this time." Sophia recognized the name. Yao was the young pianist she'd seen struggling with the piece weeks ago. Something about his determination resonated with her. That night, after her mother had fallen asleep, Sophia took out the sheet music she'd been slowly teaching herself to read and studied the complex notations of Rachmaninoff's concerto. The piece was far beyond her current abilities, but something about it called to her. The next morning, instead of working on the exercises Mr. Chen had assigned, Sophia placed the Rachmaninoff sheet on the piano. "This is what you want to play?" Mr. Chen asked, raising an eyebrow. "Just to try," Sophia said, not meeting his eyes. Mr. Chen sighed. "This piece takes years of training. Professional pianists struggle with it." "I know," Sophia admitted. "But I hear it in my head, all the time." Mr. Chen studied her for a moment. "Play what you hear, then." Sophia positioned her hands and began to play the opening bars. Her technique was rough and unpracticed, but the emotion she poured into the notes was unmistakable. When she finished the short section, she looked up to find Mr. Chen watching her with wide eyes. "That's not how it's written," he said quietly. Sophia felt her face grow hot with embarrassment. "I'm sorry, I told you I couldn't—" "No," Mr. Chen interrupted. "The notes were different, but the feeling—" He trailed off, shaking his head. "Play it again." For the next few days, Sophia worked on the Rachmaninoff piece against Mr. Chen's better judgment. He recorded her playing and helped her match what she was playing to the written music, making notes where her natural interpretations differed from the composer's. "You have instincts," he told her. "Untrained, but real." 2 weeks into their secret sessions, disaster struck. Sophia arrived at the hall to find the stage door locked. She swiped her keycard 3 times, but the light remained red. Panic rose in her throat. Had someone discovered their arrangement? Had Mr. Chen been fired? Looking for this? Sophia whirled around to find the night manager, Mr. Dawson, holding up a keycard, her keycard. Unlike Mr. Chen, Mr. Dawson had never bothered to learn the cleaning staff's names, referring to them only by their duties. "Cleaning staff cards don't work before 8 a.m., he said coldly. Security flagged multiple early entries. Care to explain? Sophia's mind raced for an excuse. "I just wanted to get an early start on—" "Save it," Mr. Dawson cut her off. "I've reviewed the security footage. You've been using the piano." His lip curled in disgust. "That's a $250,000 instrument, not a toy for the help to play with." Sophia felt sick. "Please, I was careful. I didn't damage anything." "Your mother's contract clearly states that unauthorized use of facility property is grounds for immediate termination," Mr. Dawson continued as if she hadn't spoken. "No," Sophia gasped. "Please, my mother had nothing to do with this. It was all me. She doesn't even know." Mr. Dawson seemed to consider this. "I'll need to discuss this with the board. Until then, your access is revoked." He walked away, leaving Sophia standing outside in the growing morning light, her world collapsing around her. She had to tell her mother before Mr. Dawson did. But how could she explain what she'd done? How could she admit that she'd risked their livelihood for a few precious hours at a piano? With a heavy heart, Sophia turned away from the concert hall. As she reached the street, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Don't give up. Meet me at the small coffee shop across from the hall. Now. Chen." The coffee shop was small and nearly empty at this early hour. Sophia spotted Mr. Chen at a corner table, 2 steaming cups already in front of him. Her hands were shaking as she slid into the seat across from him. "He took my key card," she blurted out before Mr. Chen could speak. "Mr. Dawson knows everything. He's going to fire my mother." Mr. Chen pushed one of the cups toward her. "Drink. It will help." Sophia wrapped her cold fingers around the warm cup, but couldn't bring herself to drink. Her stomach was tied in knots. "What am I going to do?" "First," Mr. Chen said calmly, "you need to understand what happened. Dawson doesn't come in early. Someone must have reported the unusual entry times." "Does it matter who?" Sophia asked miserably. "The damage is done. It matters because we need to know who we're dealing with." Mr. Chen took a sip of his coffee. "Dawson is a problem, yes, but he's not the final authority." Sophia looked up, a tiny spark of hope flaring. "What do you mean?" "The concert hall has a board of directors. They make the final decisions about staff." Mr. Chen leaned forward. "And they care very much about the hall's public image." Sophia didn't understand. "What does that have to do with me?" Instead of answering directly, Mr. Chen pulled out his phone and pressed play on a video. Sophia watched in shock as she saw herself at the piano, playing the Rachmaninoff piece from 2 days ago. The angle suggested it was taken from near the backstage entrance. "You were recording me?" Sophia felt betrayed. "Not just recording," Mr. Chen said, swiping to show her more videos. "I've been documenting your progress." He paused the latest video. "This was from yesterday. Listen." Sophia watched as her on-screen self played a complex passage. Despite her obvious technical limitations, there was something in the performance that made her breath catch, a raw emotion that seemed to pour from her fingers. "I don't understand," Sophia said when the video ended. "Why did you record all this?" "Because I recognized something in you the first day I saw you looking at that piano. The same thing my mother saw in her students once or twice in a lifetime." Mr. Chen put his phone away. "Natural talent is rare, Sophia. The kind you have, even rarer. Sophia shook her head. That doesn't help my mother keep her job. No, Mr. Chen agreed. But it might give you both something better. He checked his watch. You should get to school. Meet me back here at 4 o'clock. I can't, Sophia protested. I have to talk to my mother before Dawson does. Your mother won't be working today, Mr. Chen said. I called in a plumbing emergency. In the staff area. The cleaning crew has the day off while it's fixed. He smiled slightly at Sophia's surprised expression. I've worked at the hall for 15 years. I know how to buy us a little time. All day at school, Sophia couldn't focus. Twice, teachers called on her while her mind was elsewhere, earning her confused looks when she failed to answer simple questions. During lunch, she sat alone, picking at her food and checking her phone constantly. Tina eventually found her hiding in the library. Okay, spill it, she demanded, dropping into the chair across from Sophia. You've been acting weird for weeks and today you look like someone died. What's going on? For a moment, Sophia considered telling her everything. But how could she explain what she barely understood herself? Family stuff, she said vaguely. Money problems. Tina's expression softened. Is there anything I can do to help? Sophia shook her head. Thanks, but no, I just need to figure some things out. When the final bell rang, Sophia rushed out of school and headed straight for the coffee shop. Mr. Chen was already there, along with a woman Sophia had never seen before. She was elegantly dressed, with silver-streaked hair pulled back in a neat bun. Sophia, this is Mrs. Lin, Mr. Chen said as Sophia approached cautiously. She's a board member at the concert hall. Sophia froze. A board member? Was this some kind of ambush? Please sit, Mrs. Lin said, her voice gentle but commanding. Robert has been telling me about you. Sophia glanced at Mr. Chen in confusion. First name, he explained with a small smile. Mrs. Lin and I have known each other for many years. Sophia sat down slowly, feeling like she was walking into a trap. Are you here about what happened this morning? Mrs. Lin nodded. Among other things, Mr. Dawson did indeed report an incident involving unauthorized use of hall property. She studied Sophia with keen eyes. He was quite upset. Sophia's heart sank. I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't have. Mrs. Lin held up a hand, stopping her. Before we discuss that, I'd like to know more about you. Robert says you've never had formal piano training. No, Sophia admitted. We could never afford it. And yet you taught yourself to play Rachmaninoff. It wasn't a question. Sophia shrugged uncomfortably. I just play what I hear in my head. Mrs. Lin exchanged a look with Mr. Chen. I'd like to hear you play. But my key card. We'll use mine, Mrs. Lin said, rising. The hall is empty now. Most of the staff left when the plumbing issue was announced. The walk to the concert hall was tense and silent. Sophia's mind raced with possibilities, none of them good. Was Mrs. Lin going to make her demonstrate her playing just to prove she had no right to touch their precious piano? The main hall was dimly lit when they entered, the enormous space eerily quiet, without the usual bustle of musicians or cleaning staff. The grand piano waited on stage, its cover closed. Go ahead, Mrs. Lin said, gesturing toward the instrument. Sophia climbed the steps to the stage, hyper-aware of Mrs. Lin watching her every move. She sat at the bench, adjusting her position as Mr. Chen had taught her. With trembling hands, she opened the cover and placed her fingers on the keys. What should I play? She asked, her voice small in the vast space. Whatever you feel, Mrs. Lin answered. Sophia closed her eyes for a moment, trying to calm her racing heart. Then, almost without conscious thought, she began to play. Not the Rachmaninoff piece she'd been practicing, but something else entirely, a melody that had been forming in her mind during the anxious hours at school. The notes rose and fell, weaving together in a pattern that expressed everything she couldn't put into words, her fear, her love for her mother, her desperate hope that somehow everything would be okay. She played until the final note faded away, then sat in silence, afraid to look up. You composed that, Mrs. Lin said. It wasn't a question. Sophia nodded. Just now. I never tried writing music before. Mrs. Lin turned to Mr. Chen. You were right. Mr. Chen simply nodded. Sophia, Mrs. Lin said, turning back to her. What would you say if I told you there might be a solution to our problem that could benefit everyone? Sophia finally looked up. What do you mean? The hall has an educational outreach program. We provide scholarships to promising young musicians who lack resources. Mrs. Lin walked closer to the stage. It's funded separately from our operational budget. Sophia's heart began to race again, but for a different reason now. The program includes weekly lessons, access to practice facilities, and performance opportunities, Mrs. Lin continued. In exchange, students help with community concerts and events. You mean, you want me to apply? Sophia asked, barely daring to hope. I'm offering you a place, Mrs. Lin corrected, starting immediately. Sophia couldn't believe what she was hearing. But what about my mother's job? What about Mr. Dawson? Your mother's position is secure, Mrs. Lin assured her. As for Mr. Dawson, let's just say the board values talent more than rigid adherence to rules that weren't meant for special circumstances. Sophia looked from Mrs. Lin to Mr. Chen, searching for any sign that this was some cruel joke. I don't know what to say. Say yes, Mr. Chen urged quietly. But why me? Sophia asked, still struggling to understand. There must be plenty of kids with more training, more talent. Perhaps, Mrs. Lin acknowledged. But raw talent like yours is rare. What you just played, that came from somewhere deep inside you. That can't be taught. She smiled slightly. The technical skills can come later. Sophia felt tears threatening. My mother doesn't even know I've been playing. Then perhaps it's time to tell her, Mrs. Lin said. The gala performance is in 3 days. We'd like you to attend, as our guest, not as staff. Sophia's mind spun with the implications. I could never perform at something like that. I'm not ready. No one is suggesting that, Mrs. Lin said, though something in her tone made Sophia wonder. For now, just come and see what might be possible for your future. After Mrs. Lin left, Mr. Chen sat beside Sophia on the piano bench. You understand what just happened, right? Sophia shook her head, still dazed. Not really. You've been given a rare opportunity, Mr. Chen said. The kind that changes lives. But what if I can't do it? Sophia whispered, voicing her deepest fear. What if I'm not good enough? Mr. Chen placed his hand gently on hers. That's the wonderful thing about music, Sophia. It's not about being good enough. It's about having something to say. He tapped the piano keys lightly. And you, my dear, have plenty to say. That evening, Sophia sat at their small kitchen table, trying to find the words to explain everything to her mother. How could she describe the past few weeks? The secret morning sessions, the borrowed book of exercises, the recordings, and now the impossible offer that had been placed before her. Before she could begin, her phone buzzed with a message from Mr. Chen. Yao, our pianist, collapsed during rehearsal today. Food poisoning. Doctors say he won't be able to perform at the gala. Maestro Rivera is frantic. Mrs. Lin suggested you. I said it was impossible, but is it? Sophia stared at the message, her heart pounding so loudly she was sure her mother could hear it from across the room. The gala was in 3 days. The governor would be there, all those wealthy donors, and they wanted her, the cleaner's daughter, to play. It was impossible. Crazy. She couldn't possibly. Sophia? Her mother asked, noticing her shocked expression. What's wrong? Sophia took a deep breath. Mom, there's something I need to tell you. Sophia's mother set down her coffee mug, her expression unreadable as her daughter finished explaining everything. The early morning sessions, Mr. Chen's help, the recordings, Mr. Dawson's discovery, and finally, Mrs. Lin's unexpected offer. So, you've been going to the hall at 5 a.m, for weeks? Her voice was quiet, but Sophia couldn't tell if she was angry. Yes, Sophia admitted, staring at her hands. I'm sorry I didn't tell you. And now they want you to play? At the gala? Her mother's voice held disbelief rather than anger. Sophia nodded, then showed her the message from Mr. Chen. But it's impossible. I've only been playing for a few weeks. Her mother took the phone, reading the message twice. Then she looked up, her eyes shining with tears. Your grandmother would say this is fate. Mom, I can't do this, Sophia protested. These are professional musicians. Important people will be there. I'll embarrass everyone. Her mother reached across the table and took Sophia's hands, turning them palm up. These hands had always been just like her own. Working hands, cleaning hands. But now she looked at them differently. When your grandmother played, people said it was like she opened a door to something they couldn't see but could feel. She squeezed Sophia's fingers. I never understood what they meant until now. You've heard me play? Sophia asked, confused. Her mother smiled softly. Mr. Chen sent me a video last week. Sophia stared in shock. You knew? This whole time? Not the whole time. Just the last few days. Her mother's smile faded. I was angry at first, scared you would get in trouble, but then I heard you play and... She trailed off, shaking her head. I couldn't take that away from you. But the gala... Call Mr. Chen, her mother said firmly. Tell him you'll do it. But, Sophia, her mother cut her off gently. Some chances come once in a lifetime. This is yours. The next morning found Sophia at the concert hall earlier than ever, her stomach churning with anxiety. Mrs. Lin had arranged an emergency meeting with Maestro Rivera, the orchestra's famously temperamental conductor. Sophia had seen him during rehearsals, red-faced and shouting when musicians failed to meet his exacting standards. The thought of playing for him made her physically ill. Mr. Chen met her at the stage door, his usually calm face tight with tension. He's waiting in the rehearsal room. Mrs. Lin is with him. Does he know? Sophia asked in a small voice. About me? That I'm the cleaning staff's daughter? Mr. Chen finished for her. No, Mrs. Lin thought it best to let your playing speak for itself. The rehearsal room felt too bright, too exposed after the dimness of the main hall where Sophia was used to playing. Maestro Rivera sat at a small desk, scribbling notes on a sheet of music. Mrs. Lin stood by the window, her posture relaxed but her eyes alert. Ah, finally, Maestro Rivera said without looking up. Mrs. Lin says you might be able to help with our little problem. Sophia froze in the doorway, unable to make her legs move forward. Mr. Chen gave her a gentle push. This is Sophia, he said. The student I mentioned. Maestro Rivera looked up then, his bushy eyebrows rising as he took in Sophia's worn jeans and simple sweater. You're younger than I expected. She's 16, Mrs. Lin said smoothly. The same age as Yao when he first performed with us. The conductor grunted, clearly unconvinced. Well, let's not waste time. The Rachmaninoff from the beginning. He gestured to the piano in the corner of the room. Sophia approached it slowly, feeling like she was walking to her execution. The sheet music was already placed on the stand, the same concerto she'd been secretly practicing, but the full version, far more complex than the sections she knew. I haven't played the whole piece, she admitted, her voice barely audible. Play what you know, Mrs. Lin encouraged. Sophia sat at the bench, adjusted her position, and placed her trembling hands on the keys. She took a deep breath, trying to push away her awareness of the 3 pairs of eyes watching her. Instead, she thought of the empty hall in the early mornings, of the music that lived in her head, of her mother's words. Some chances come once, in a lifetime. She began to play. The first few notes were hesitant, her nervousness evident in the stiff movement of her fingers. But then the music took over, as it always did. Sophia closed her eyes, letting her hands find the keys by feel, by memory, by the map that somehow existed in her mind. When she reached the end of what she knew, she simply continued, improvising her way through passages she'd heard but never played, following the music to where it seemed to want to go. When she finally stopped, the room was utterly silent. Sophia kept her eyes closed, afraid to see the disappointment or ridicule on Maestro Rivera's face. Where did you study? The conductor's voice was strangely subdued. Sophia opened her eyes. I haven't. I mean, nowhere. Maestro Rivera turned to Mrs. Lin. This is a joke, yes? Some reality television prank? No joke, Mrs. Lin replied calmly. Sophia has had no formal training. She works here with the cleaning staff. The conductor looked back at Sophia, his expression shifting from disbelief to something like wonder. That's not possible. And yet, here she is, Mrs. Lin said. Maestro Rivera stood suddenly, pacing the small room. The technique is raw, untrained. The fingering is all wrong. He stopped, turning to face Sophia. But the interpretation, there is something there that cannot be taught. He walked to the piano and shuffled through the sheet music. The gala is in 2 days. We need a full rehearsal with the orchestra today and another tomorrow. He fixed Sophia with an intense stare. Can you learn the rest by then? Sophia wanted to say no. She wanted to run from the room, from the weight of expectation suddenly pressing down on her. But instead, she heard herself say, I can try. Good. Maestro Rivera nodded. We begin in 1 hour, don't be late. After he left, Sophia turned to Mrs. Lin and Mr. Chen in panic. What just happened? You've been offered the chance to perform as a soloist with the Westfield Symphony Orchestra, Mrs. Lin said, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. But that's crazy. I can't, Sophia's voice broke. I'm not ready. None of us are ever ready for the moments that change our lives, Mr. Chen said quietly. We just have to be brave enough to take them. Mrs. Lin checked her watch. You have 55 minutes before rehearsal. I suggest you use them to prepare. She handed Sophia a garment bag. Your mother dropped this off. She said you'd need something to wear. Alone in the rehearsal room, Sophia unzipped the bag to find a simple black dress, one she recognized as her mother's, worn for special occasions and carefully preserved over the years. Pinned to it was a note. Your grandmother would be so proud. I know I am. The tears Sophia had been holding back finally spilled over. She clutched the dress, feeling the weight of everything that had happened in the past weeks. Her secret mourning session seemed a lifetime ago now. A knock at the door startled her. 15 minutes, Mr. Chen called. Sophia quickly dried her eyes and changed into the dress. It was slightly too big, but with a few safety pins strategically placed, it would work. She was tying back her hair when Mr. Chen knocked again. They're ready for you, he said as she opened the door. He paused, taking in her transformation. You look like a proper soloist now. Sophia laughed nervously. I don't feel like one. That's normal, he assured her. Just remember you've earned this moment, not because of who you know or where you come from, but because of what's in here. He touched his heart. The next hours passed in a blur. The orchestra members were skeptical at first. Sophia could feel their doubt as she took her place at the piano. But when she began to play, something magical happened. The music flowed between them, a conversation of instruments with Sophia's piano leading the way. By the end of the first run-through, the doubtful looks had been replaced with surprised respect. Maestro Rivera was relentless, stopping frequently to correct Sophia's technique or the orchestra's tempo. But even in his criticism, there was an underlying excitement. Again from measure 42, he would say, tapping his baton impatiently. And Sophia, remember to breathe. The music must breathe with you. By the end of the day, Sophia's fingers were cramping and her back ached from maintaining perfect posture. But the full concerto was taking shape, her confidence growing with each rehearsal. As the orchestra packed up their instruments, the concertmaster, a stern-looking woman with silver-streaked hair, approached Sophia. You're full of surprises, aren't you? She said, studying Sophia with curious eyes. I'm just trying not to mess up, Sophia admitted. The woman smiled slightly. That's not what I heard today. I heard someone who wasn't afraid to make the music her own. She extended her hand. I'm Vivian, first violin and concertmaster. Sophia shook her hand, feeling strangely grown up in that moment. Nice to meet you. Officially, I mean. Vivian tilted her head. Have we met before? Sophia hesitated. I've been part of the cleaning crew here for about a year. Understanding dawned on Vivian's face. The quiet girl with the cart. I've seen you watching rehearsals. Sophia nodded, feeling her cheeks flush with embarrassment. But Vivian just smiled. Well, it seems you were paying attention. We'll see you tomorrow, Sophia. Get some rest. That night, Sophia could barely sleep. Her mind kept replaying the rehearsal, all the mistakes she'd made, all the sections she still needed to perfect. Morning. She was exhausted but too wired to feel it. The final rehearsal went better than she'd dared hope. The orchestra seemed to have accepted her overnight, offering encouraging smiles when she mastered a difficult passage or followed Maestro Rivera's directions perfectly. At the end, the conductor gathered everyone on stage. Tomorrow night is the most important performance of the season, he reminded them. The governor will be here, the Arts Council, all the major donors. He looked directly at Sophia. We are taking a risk, but sometimes music demands risks. As the musicians dispersed, Maestro Rivera pulled Sophia aside. Tonight, rest, no practicing, let your mind and body recover. His stern face softened slightly. Tomorrow, you will make history, yes? Sophia managed a wobbly smile. I'll try. No, he said firmly. You will succeed, because you have something all these technically perfect pianists lack. He tapped her chest, right above her heart. The music lives here first. The rest is just details. As she left the concert hall, Sophia's phone buzzed with a text from her mother. Come straight home, we have preparations to make. Sophia smiled, realizing that for the first time in her life she was leaving the concert hall not as part of the invisible cleaning staff, but as someone who belonged on the stage. Tomorrow night, everything would change. She just had to be brave, enough to play. The morning of the gala, Sophia woke before her alarm, her heart already racing with anticipation. Outside her window, the sky was still dark, much like all those mornings when she'd slipped out to practice in secret. But today was different. Today, everything would change. Her mother was already up, making coffee in their small kitchen. She'd taken the day off work, something she never did, to help Sophia prepare. Did you sleep? Her mother asked, though the answer was obvious from the dark circles under Sophia's eyes. A little, Sophia lied, accepting a steaming mug. What if I freeze up? What if I forget the music? Her mother sat across from her at their tiny table. When I first came to this country, I was so scared I couldn't breathe. I didn't know the language, didn't have any friends, didn't know how we would survive. She reached out to touch Sophia's cheek. But we did survive. And you will do more than that tonight. You will shine. After breakfast, they went through the dress together again, making small adjustments. Sophia's mother had stayed up late adding tiny crystals to the neckline, a touch that transformed the simple black dress into something almost elegant. It's still not like what the other soloists wear, Sophia worried, looking at herself in their small bathroom mirror. Good, her mother said firmly. You are not like the other soloists. Why pretend? Mrs. Lin had arranged for Sophia to have access to a practice room at the concert hall during the day, away from the bustle of preparations for the evening. But when she arrived, Maestro Rivera was waiting for her. One final rehearsal, he said. Just you and me. For the next 2 hours, he worked with her on the most difficult passages, offering advice Sophia tucked away like precious gifts. Feel the phrase here like a question that needs answering. Let this section breathe more, like a sigh. Remember, the piano can whisper as well as shout. By lunchtime, Sophia's confidence had grown. The music felt like it was truly part of her now, not just notes on a page, but a story she was telling with her own voice. That's enough for today, Maestro Rivera said finally. Save something for tonight. He gathered his sheets, then paused. You know, in 40 years of conducting, I have never taken a chance like this. His stern face relaxed into the hint of a smile. Don't make me regret it. Sophia spent the afternoon in a small dressing room Mrs. Lin had arranged for her. Her mother brought lunch and they ate together in nervous silence. As the hour approached, staff members Sophia had once worked alongside stopped by to wish her luck, their faces showing varied degrees of shock at her transformation. Mr. Dawson passed by once, doing a double take when he recognized her. He didn't speak, but the tight line of his mouth told Sophia he wasn't happy about the turn of events. "Don't mind him," Mr. Chen said, appearing at her door with a small package. "Some people can't recognize magic even when it's right in front of them." He handed her the package. A tradition among performers. A small gift before a debut. Inside was a delicate silver bracelet with a tiny piano charm. "It was my mother's," Mr. Chen explained. "She would want you to have it." Sophia tried to refuse, such a precious gift, but Mr. Chen insisted. "For luck," he said, helping her fasten it around her wrist. "Though you won't need it." As evening fell, the concert hall transformed. Lights blazed from every window, and sleek cars began pulling up to the entrance, disgorging elegantly dressed patrons. Sophia watched from her dressing room window, her stomach twisting with a fresh wave of nerves. A knock at the door announced Mrs. Lin, looking regal in a deep blue gown. "It's time to meet the orchestra backstage," she said. "Are you ready?" Sophia looked at her mother, who nodded encouragement. "As ready as I'll ever be." Backstage was controlled chaos. Musicians tuning instruments, stage hands adjusting lighting, Maestro Rivera pacing impatiently. When Sophia appeared, a strange hush fell over the area. She knew what they were seeing. Not just a girl in a borrowed dress, but a symbol of something unexpected. A reminder that talent could emerge from unlikely places. Some smiled encouragingly. Others looked doubtful still. But all of them were waiting to see what would happen when she sat at that piano. "Places in 5 minutes," the stage manager called. Sophia felt a tap on her shoulder and turned to find Vivian, the concertmaster. "The governor is here," she whispered, "and 3 critics from the capital." Before Sophia could panic at this news, Vivian squeezed her arm. "Don't think about them. Play for yourself. The rest of us will follow." Sophia's mother gave her one last hug before being escorted to a special seat in the audience. "Remember what Grandma used to say?" she whispered in Sophia's ear. "Music is just the heart speaking without words." Then Maestro Rivera was leading the orchestra on stage, greeted by polite applause. Sophia waited in the wings, her heart hammering, so loudly she was sure everyone could hear it. The orchestra settled, and then the stage manager was motioning to her. "And now," Sophia heard the maestro announce, "our soloist for Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 3. She stepped into the brightness of the stage lights, momentarily blinded. As her eyes adjusted, she became aware of the vast audience stretching. Before her, hundreds of faces turned expectantly toward the stage. She heard murmurs of confusion, saw programs being consulted. This wasn't the soloist they'd been expecting. Sophia walked to the piano as she'd practiced, back straight, eyes forward. As she took her seat and adjusted the bench, she caught sight of Mr. Dawson in the wings, arms crossed, waiting for disaster. Beyond him stood Mr. Chen, his kind eyes offering silent support. The hall fell silent as Sophia placed her hands on the keys. Maestro Rivera raised his baton, gave her a small nod, and then they were off. Sophia and 60 professional musicians launching together into one of the most challenging pieces in the classical repertoire. The first notes flowed from Sophia's fingers, tentative at first, then with growing assurance. She forgot about the audience, forgot about the critics, forgot about Mr. Dawson's disapproval. There was only the music, the conversation between her piano and the orchestra, building and receding like ocean waves. When they reached the cadenza, the extended solo passage where the piano plays alone, Sophia closed her eyes and let her hands find their way. She wasn't following the sheet music anymore, but playing from something deeper, something that lived in her bones. The passage grew and expanded, her improvisation transforming Rachmaninoff's notes into something that was partly his, partly hers, wholly alive. She became aware that the orchestra hadn't rejoined when they should have. Opening her eyes, she found Maestro Rivera watching her with an expression of amazement, his baton suspended in midair. He'd let her continue beyond the written cadenza, captivated by what she was creating. With the smallest of smiles, he brought his baton down, and the orchestra surged back in, matching Sophia's energy as they raced toward the concerto's powerful conclusion. The final chords resonated through the hall, then faded to silence. For one terrible moment, no one moved or made a sound. Sophia sat frozen at the keyboard, afraid to turn around. Then someone in the balcony stood up and began to clap. Another person joined, and another, until the entire hall erupted in thunderous applause. Sophia finally turned to see the audience on their feet, a standing ovation that roared through the concert hall like a wave. Maestro Rivera extended his hand to her, his stern face transformed by a genuine smile. "Brava," he said simply as he led her to the front of the stage to acknowledge the applause. Sophia spotted her mother in the audience, tears streaming down her face as she clapped harder than anyone. Next to her sat Mrs. Lin, looking pleased but not surprised, as if she'd known all along what would happen. The applause continued as Sophia took a second bow, then a third. It seemed the audience would never let her leave the stage. In that moment, standing in the spotlight she'd only ever seen from the shadows, Sophia finally understood. This wasn't just about talent or opportunity or even music itself. It was about being seen, truly seen, for the first time in her life. Later that night, after endless congratulations and introductions to important people whose names she couldn't possibly remember, Sophia found herself back in the empty concert hall with her mother. The cleaning crew had already come and gone, clearing away the programs and abandoned champagne glasses from the reception. "So," her mother said, sitting beside Sophia on the piano bench, "what happens now?" Sophia ran her fingers lightly over the keys. "Mrs. Lin says there's a special music school that might accept me, with a full scholarship." She looked at her mother anxiously. "But it's far away. We'd have to move." Her mother nodded slowly. "New beginnings are scary, but staying the same, when you're meant for more, is scarier." "Maestro Rivera wants me to play with the orchestra again next month," Sophia continued. "And there's a summer program for young musicians that Mrs. Lin thinks I should attend. Your grandmother always said music would find its way back to our family." Her mother's eyes shone with tears and pride. She was right. Sophia played a few quiet notes, the beginning of a melody she was composing in her head. "I never thought this could happen to someone like me." "That's the thing about talent," her mother said, watching Sophia's hands move across the keys. "It doesn't care where you come from or what you have, it just waits to be discovered." As they left the concert hall, not through the back entrance as usual, but through the grand front doors, Sophia looked up at the stars scattered across the night sky. Her life had changed completely in the space of 2 weeks, transformed by courage, kindness, and a chance to be heard. Nobody had expected her to play. Nobody except the music itself, which had been waiting for her all along.